Hi, everybody. It's me, Sam Bennett from therealsambennett.com, and welcome to this, our weekly Facebook Live time together to look at what's really going on. You know, we spend a lot of time looking at what's going on the surface. What are the symptoms of what's going on? We spend a lot of time with our repetitive thoughts, right? The same things we thought yesterday and the day before and the day before that, the same things we were writing about in our 8th grade journal, still thinking about that. So this is our moment to go a little deeper, to get a little more truthful, and maybe a little kinder, a little more compassionate with ourselves and with others, and notice what's really going on. And we're going to start with the truth, and the truth is in your breath. So let your belly go really soft. If you want to ignore this part, you can totally ignore it. It'll only take a minute. But most people find it to be really kind of fun. So let your belly go really soft. Soften your gaze. Soften your joints. Notice if you're holding yourself up, right? See if you can't let a little air in. We know that what appears to be solid is actually more space than solid, right? You know that the area between the cells is bigger than the cells themselves. So remember all that space inside of you. Remember that you are more space than not. We're going to inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8, and see if you can't feel those spaces filling up with something maybe that feels like love. You ready? Let's inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, that feels so nice. I could just snuggle right back up into bed. I don't know about you people. Great. Hi, Lucy. How are you? Wonderful to see you as always. I was asking on the Secrets of Highly Productive People Facebook page what was getting in your way, or what you felt like was getting in your way today. And I'm still curious about the answer to that question. So if you're here live and you want to type in what's getting in your way today, I would love to hear it. I would also love to show off this mug too. You may not have seen this one. It says, "You're fine. You're weird. And that's okay. Now get to work. The world needs you." You're fine. You're weird. And that's okay. Now get to work. The world needs you. Gaynell says, the state of being spaced out explained. Okay, yeah, we can do that for sure. Oh, good. Veronica put up a link to the mug if you are interested in this mug. This mug can be yours, designed by the beautiful Veronica Gazzardi. An over-outshine talent for indecision. Oh, yes, you do. I'm going to guess you also have the ability to talk yourself in and out of things on a dime, right? Overwhelmed with the world and so tired. Yeah, good, excellent. So I was talking with one of my private clients. You guys may not know that I do have a few one-on-one clients. I'm thinking about taking a few more. If you're interested in working with me one-on-one, maybe just send me a little email at sam@therealsambennett.com and we can talk about it. It's not cheap, by the way, but worth it from what I understand. Okay, I've got a hair that's attached to my glasses, which is no wonder it's tickling me. Okay. That. So I was talking to one of my private clients the other day, and Gaynell, yeah, I got that. The space between yourselves being spaced out. I figured that out after I said it. But I think it could be something that's getting in your way too, just the sensation of being spaced out. So yeah, but I made the connection afterwards. So anyway, I was talking to one of my private clients, and what I realized was that I had never really run through with her some of the things that I have identified as characteristics of a highly creative person. And she was criticizing herself for a lot of the things that I think are just innate to highly creative people. So what do I mean when I say highly creative people? as near as I can tell, and believe me, this is completely unscientific, completely anecdotal. I am not a social scientist. I am not a researcher. I am not a PhD. I've read some about this, but not that much. So if you talk to someone who's more qualified than I am and they say that what I'm saying is not true, then believe them. But I'm just telling you what I've noticed, right, from my own experience. So from my own experience, what I've noticed is that about 10 to 15% of the world are highly creative people. In the same way that 10 to 15% of the world are highly sensitive people, a certain percentage of people are neurodivergent, a certain percentage of people are extremely tall. Like, you know, it's the bell curve, right? Most people are sort of in the middle. There's some people who lag far behind, and then some people who are way ahead, right? Or have a much deeper concentration of whatever quality it is. Okay. As near as I can tell, there's only one physical characteristic that makes people highly creative people. And it has to do with the connectivity of our brains, right? So you may have heard the thing about like, oh, you're left-brained or you're right-brained. I always suspected that was kind of bullshit, because I'm like, how could that be? I mean, it's certainly true that different places in the brain are home to different functions, but that's mutable, that can change, and it's not always true. And what seems to be true, though, is that highly creative people are neither more right-brained nor more left-brained, but rather more both-brained. So we make more connections. There's more connections between the what's that called? The corpus callosum, the two sides of the brain. There's more connections made more often between more things, which is what allows us to put together things in a way that nobody else thinks to, right? That nobody else, it doesn't occur to anybody else to put these two unusual ideas together or use this object in this unusual way, right? It is, this highly connected brain gives us the ability, it's weird, it's odd that I'm starting with this one because this one is a little unusual, but since I'm on the brain thing, it gives us the ability to think fast and slow at the same time. Now, here's what that means. So it means we can be in a creative flow state and thinking strategically about what needs to happen next. Right? Improvisers, this is exactly what improvisers do. Like, we're on stage, we got a suggestion from the audience, we're in the flow of the scene, we're completely open channels, we're completely inventing, and we are thinking strategically about, you know, where's the joke that's going to end the scene? I've got to get into the frog costume after this. You know, we're thinking strategic, you know, oh, there's that step over there, right? I'm sure it's what musicians do when they're jamming, right? They're totally in flow, and yet they're also keeping count. They're also counting the room. They're also wondering where their ginger ale is, you know. I remember Veronica says, the idea of doing something executive and analytical thinking separately sounds so relaxing. Yeah, I can't imagine what that would be like. But what it means is that you guys can do a lot of things that other people can't do. You know, again, I assume this is what surgeons do as well, right? When they're doing brain surgery, they're totally in the flow of the moment, and they are also thinking strategically about what needs to happen next. Many people cannot do this. So don't get impatient with other people when they can't do this thing that you do so automatically. You know, like when you can cook and demonstrate the cooking at the same time. That's pretty good, right? Much harder than it looks. And again, it's a brain function, so you can either do it or not do it. You can cultivate in some ways, particularly the more familiar you are with the activity. But it's something we tend to take for granted, right? Because it just comes so naturally to us, and we can't figure out why everybody else can't do it. But really, everybody else can't do it. The number one characteristic for the highly creative person is that you have a grillion ideas all the time. You have a grillion ideas all the time. You wake up with ideas, you go to sleep with ideas, you have ideas in the middle of the day, you have ideas while you're driving, while you're writing, while you're barking, while you're showering, all the time. You have ideas about other people's ideas. You have ideas about old ideas. You have ideas about things you know nothing about. It's brilliant. And this can sometimes get labeled as a character defect, right? Like, oh, you're so flighty, or oh, you can't settle on anything, or oh, you're so peripatetic. And it's not true. I mean, you might be flighty and peripatetic, I don't know, but Mostly you just have brilliant ideas. It is not a character defect. It's a beautiful quality. And I want you to notice that your creativity, your ability to come up with ideas has never abandoned you, not once, not ever. No one can take it away from you. They can lock you in a square box for the rest of your days, and you are still going to have a brilliant ideas every day, right? So what you need is a way to manage these ideas, right? You need to manage the flow of these ideas in the same way that people who are, hyperactive. I used to have a trainer, a physical trainer, who was like she had to put a treadmill by her TV because she had to be moving all the time or she would just go nutty nuts, right? So you have brilliant ideas all the time. You have to find a way to manage them, which means capturing them in some way and then finding a way to retrieve them. So I like index cards. I like lists. I like the Notes app on my phone. Some people like voice memos. Some people like to call and leave themselves a message. Sometimes I'll send myself an email. I don't mind if you write stuff down in journals, but then take a picture of it, okay? Because otherwise it just goes in the journal and you're never gonna look back through the journal. Who looks back through a journal? And it's hard to tell what are the good ideas versus just what's all the flotsam and jetsam of a journal. So be sure you have a way you can retrieve those ideas, right? Jennifer says, managing the flow of ideas. Wow, that's what I need. You guys can get the 7-day real life planner, the sort of sample version of the real life planner, because it's designed especially for the highly creative person who's managing a brilliant ideas. That's just a free opt-in, and you can buy the real thing if you really like it. Let's see, Jan says, wow, this is such an empowering information. Well, that's why I thought I would share it with you, because I thought I hadn't talked about this in a while. Michael Ann says, I'm an artist and I have a big size-wise idea that I want to create. I'm resisting breaking it up into smaller chunks. It doesn't feel authentic in the sense of creating a whole design. Does that make any sense? I guess I need to meet myself in the middle. Yeah, I mean, you can't build Rome in a day. You can't eat an elephant all at once. You can't, if it's a big idea, it has to be broken down into little chunks. Everything has to go step by step. You only have 2 hands. I think it's fine to build something physically large. I think that's great, or complicated, or even just intellectually complicated. I'm a fan, but I would rather see you starting than having you just sitting on your hands, feeling like something feels inauthentic. Like, just get in there and start. Just get in there and do it today. Spend 15 minutes on it today, will you? Pinky swear, Girl Scout honor. Okay. Nell says, yep, she's got a built-in idea generator. Leslie says, big heart. Yep, Leslie's got a million ideas. Jan says, I sing at bedsides and wondered why I'm able to sing and be there and also see things at the same time. Right, that's why. Lori says, having a trillion ideas is hard if you're sick and people are telling you to relax, or if you're retired and people think you should be relaxing, sitting around or gardening. Just tell them that thinking about ideas is relaxing for you. That's all. Or just smile and nod like, oh yeah, thank you. And then keep going with what you're doing, because they're not going to understand. Oh, good. Veronica put up the link to, so it's therealsambennett.com/real-life-planner. And that'll take you to the free 7-day downloadable version. I think there's also a little video training of me talking you through how I created it, because it's fun. Okay, so you have brilliant ideas all the time. You have a lot of talents and skills. You're good at a lot of things, and you're used to picking things up kind of quickly, which means you are often like the kid with too many Christmas presents, right? You're like, oh, I could do this, or I could do that. I have this talent or skill. I've got this talent or skill. And everybody from the outside who don't have as many talents and skills, by the way, like, well, why don't you just open a flower shop? You're so good with flowers. Or why don't you just teach? So good at teaching. Or why don't you just sing? You're so good at singing. And you're like, because that's not the thing I want to do. I get it that I'm good at it, but I don't want to do it, right? And yeah, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to do it. Doesn't mean you have to make money at it, right? Here's another thing that I've noticed about highly creative people is we love nuance. We love gray area. If you ask a highly creative person a question, they're going to answer by saying, it depends, right? we are very resistant to orthodoxy. We're very resistant to black and white thinking, to black and white authoritarianism. We're like, wait a minute, there are conditions that could make the, we're always thinking about the exception. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful to have a mind that loves subtlety and loves nuance, except that it also means that we will overcomplicate a fucking paper bag. Like, we can't have just the plain simple idea that's going to make $1 million. We have the plain simple idea that's going to make $1 million, and then we overcomplicate it to the point where no one understands what it is we're doing and we saw nothing. Ring a bell? Okay. So again, it's not a problem to be solved. It's something to be noticed and managed, right? Oh, look, here I am overcomplicating. I often tell highly creative people, the minute you have an idea and you think, well, that's boring, stop right there, because that's your $1 billion idea, right? Just stop right there. Because if you think it's boring, first of all, you think it's boring because you've already had the idea. But also, if you think it's boring, it's probably very easily explained to someone else, which means it's very easily sold to someone else. Good. Okay, let me go back through these questions. Gail says, yes, this is great. I'm always working on my retrieval of ideas and making notes and roadmaps to get there. It's a bit much. Just might be my least favorite word. Yeah, just is a real like shapeshifter devil of a word, isn't it? It hides like 1,000 sins. Like, oh, I just wanted to remind you that you haven't done that thing for me. Oh, I just wanted to check in. Why don't you just? Yeah, it's true. It's true. I noticed this with somebody else recently where they're like, well, all we have to do is we just blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, it's not just blah, 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 blah. That's a big project. Yeah, keep an eye out for the justs in your life. And are you using it, overusing it? And where can you eliminate it? Jennifer says, I'm enduring work situations that want me to conform to their rigid role definitions. Any ideas how not to feel squelched? Boy, do I sympathize. I always had that feeling whenever I had day gigs. And I always felt like I was leaving, I don't know, 50, 75% of myself in the car. I mean, they liked me, but they weren't interested in who I was spiritually or emotionally or creatively or aesthetically or sexually or comedically or anything. And that was hard for me. That was really hard for me. It's one of the reasons why I never really had a full-time job until I created one for myself. Yay. And that worked out. So I would just say two things. One, remember that they cannot squelch you. No one has ever been able to squelch you. They cannot dim your light. They cannot, the fluorescent lights will not suck your soul away, even though it kind of feels like they do. And you are the sparkly bit of joy in the office for other people. Go ahead and bring your wackadoodle self in there more, I mean, obviously do the job as written, right? Do the thing they want you to do, but don't be afraid to bring a little more, some of your flair to it. And if they really don't want your flair, then find another job. Again, you've got a million talents and skills. You can do a lot of things and get paid really, really well. You can also ask them for some flexibility. Like if you're really good at what you do, I always asked for the flexibility to go on auditions when I needed to and to be out on days that I booked acting gigs. And I never had a job that wasn't willing to do that for me. But I've also known people who've negotiated for Fridays off or whatever, because that was part of it. Is like, it's not just that I had to go in there and conform to their roles, but I had to be there all day. I'm like, really? 9 to 5? All the way to 5? Because I could be done by like 11, 12:30 maybe. Can't I just go? So see what you can negotiate. But otherwise, yeah, just if it's the kind of thing that you have to go and you can't quit, you don't have any options right now, then just suit up and show up and, go to the bathroom, once every 2 hours and write yourself a little poem or, make some art out of the Post-it notes, whatever. Just do what you need to do to keep your flame alive because you're worth it. Julie says, yeah, it just feels insulting and demeaning. Yeah, it does. Suggesting Michael Ann maybe explore architects like Frank Lloyd Wright and Julia Morgan, who did Hearst Castle, who created big in parts over extended time. Oh, that's a good suggestion. Julie says, and subtlety and nuance are so juicy, right? And stopping, right? Dave says, just devalues what you bring. Yes. Jan says, comparisons are killers. So true. Jody Adler says so many things and I feel like I'm going nowhere. Hi, Jody. You're not going nowhere, hon. I guarantee it. I know you. You have never gone nowhere in your life. So, all right, let's keep going with some of these other characteristics of highly creative people. So you got a brilliant ideas all the time. You're good at a lot of things. Love nuance. Tend to overcomplicate. Suspicious of anything that's too popular. How many of you have not read Harry Potter because everybody was like, oh my God, you're going to love it so much. And you're like, no, I can't read it. Or there's some movie that everybody's like, oh my God, it's amazing. And you're like, well, no, I'm not going to go because it's too popular. Now, this is fine. I think being suspicious of too popular is appropriate. Skepticism is a virtue. However, it also means that some of you are missing out on important trends, right? You're missing out on important trends because you're not willing to engage with that which is popular. So just consider that. Just consider that. You're not super motivated by power or prestige or even money, which again is beautiful because it makes you incorruptible. On the other hand, it hurts you because you are not focused on the power or the prestige or the money. Right? So if you're not going to focus on the power and the prestige on the money, somebody on your team needs to be, because you do have power and you do have prestige and you do need money to live. And someone on your team needs to be focusing on that, right? So I have people who do my social media and make me look awesome out in the world, right? I have had PR people who write articles or I write articles and they get them out there. And all these, what we call authority signs, right? Oh, she lives in that location. Oh, they bought that kind of a house. Oh, she drives that kind of a car. Oh, she wears that kind of clothes. Oh, she's published in that journal or this journal or recognized by this organization or that organization. All that shit kind of matters. Doesn't matter. It's not everything, obviously, but it doesn't not matter, right? It's not about the money, but it's not about the money either, right? So don't trick yourself into being like, oh, I don't care about any of that, and thinking that that makes you somehow high-minded or better. No, if you're going to get your work out to a larger audience, you need to be kind of a public person, and you need to have the credibility to do that, right? Here's another one. You tend to notice all the things. You notice all the things all the time. You notice things that are invisible to many people. I remember saying long before I ever had any thought about what highly creative people are or aren't like, I used to say they didn't like going to parties because it felt like walking into spider webs. Like it just felt like too much information about who was connected to who and who was fighting and who liked each other and history. And it was too much for me. Like it would kind of psychically overwhelm me. And I didn't know why, but now I know it's because I was noticing all the things. So again, it's not a character defect. It's not a problem. You just need to know that you do it. And if you can, develop your skills in toning it down, turning it off, and dialing it up when you need to really be in connection with someone. We hate small talk. We almost can't do it. We almost can't do it. And again, it keeps us out of going to things that we should really go to because we're terrified of the small talk. And here's what I've noticed is, honestly, if you insist on big talk, most people will go right with you. You know, people start out, oh my gosh, how are you? How's the weather? And I'm like, I'm fine. Have you considered like the gap between what you have and what you want and how the tension in that is really pulling you forward? People will be like, wait, what? Like most people are willing to have bigger conversations. You just have to kind of lead them there. And then the highly connective brain. Yeah. Let's see. Julie says, yeah, I hear E.E. Cummings talking about most people. Blech. Yeah, no, I know. I mean, most people are lovely, but they're not highly creative people. Gail says, oh my God, I say that all the time. Just because I'm good at this doesn't mean I want to do it. Right, exactly. There's, you know, what Gay Hendricks refers to as your zone of excellence, and then your zone of genius. Right? You have a huge zone of excellence, things that you are generally very good at. And those are things that other people really approve of and generally want you to do. But your zone of genius, you are so good at your zone of genius, you don't even know it's a thing. And you could get paid maximum dollars for that, right? Robin says that suspicion of popular is huge with me. It makes writing to market challenging. Yeah, exactly. So again, just it's not a problem to be solved. It's just a situation to be managed. Like notice, like, oh, here I am being resistant to comparing myself to XYZ book because I don't want to feel like I'm surfing off their coattails. But dude, surf their coattails. That's what coattails were made for. Small talk feels like torture. Oh, that's because it is. Shannon says, can't do it. And I'm hearing what everyone is thinking and feeling. Ew. Yeah, no, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. I one time dealt with having to go to a holiday party. I actually did this a lot for a while. First of all, before I got out of the car, I would remind myself, like, shields up, right? Shields up. And just protectively, not to keep people out, just, you know, to remember that, like, I can be vulnerable. And that my only job was to listen. So everybody I got in front of, I just, like, really made eye contact with them and really just tried to focus on them and listen carefully to what they were saying and be in the moment with them, which is very unusual because at an LA party, especially, people are always like, who else is here? Who else is here? Who else is here? So to have someone who's just like, I'm here focused on you, would kind of freak people out. Like, some people would just be like, okay, nice to meet you, and leave, because it would be feel sort of uncomfortable to them. But I ended up having some really deep, good conversations with people. So just know that you don't have to, you can go to parties and not have to do small talk, and you can go to parties and not feel like you're in radio hell, you know. The last thing I want to say is just, this is doesn't really have to do with being a highly creative person as much as it does with being a very talented person, is there's a thing called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Have you heard about this? It's scientifically, I don't know, I read something that contradicted it recently, but it's an interesting concept, even if it's not factually true. Dunning-Kruger was a study that showed that people who have no talent think they're awesome. And people who are talented are very harsh judgments of their own work because they have the taste level to be able to see how it could be better, even when their ability doesn't match their taste level. So the fact that you think you're not very good is actually a sign that you're probably very good, right? We see this on auditions for the singing shows sometimes. Like, people are just like, because I'm doing it, I must be awesome. Like, and they don't have the taste level to know, like, no, you're not on pitch and you're not awesome. So understand that, you know, and Ira Glass has that wonderful piece about living through that long stretch of time in between when you find the thing you love to do and immediately realize that you're terrible at it, and the amount of work you have to do and patience you have to have with yourself while you get good enough at it to be able to live with yourself. So just know that too, that the fact that you are kind of hard on yourself is a sign that you're probably a lot better at what you do than you think you are. June says, people have always told me I was a brilliant writer and should write books. I hate writing. Have found if other people do the first draft for me, I can edit the heck out of it. June, the world needs editors. Editing is a very specific skill and one I don't have at all. So I admire you. And if you hate writing, don't write. You know, and it's totally fine to have stuff that you guys do just for fun. You know, back when all my friends were having babies, I would make cashmere sock monkeys for everybody for their baby as a baby present, because I'm adorable. And every time people are like, oh my God, you made this. Oh my God, it's cashmere. Oh my God, it's a sock monkey. Oh my God, you should sell these. Oh my God, they're so cute. Oh my God. And I was like, absolutely not. I have no interest in having to do this. I do them as love offerings for the babies that I love, but I'm not going to make them and sell them. Somebody else could make them and sell them, but I don't want to sit there all day and have to do it. That would be not fun for me. So that's the difference between hobbies and your work. Jody says, wow, mind blown. Oh, good. So yeah, so you're a highly creative person. It's fine. You're fine. You're weird. That's okay. Now get to work because the world needs you, right? Jennifer says, resources on how to interact with the popular crowd, stay genuine and not jeopardize myself. The shortest bit I can give you, when you do courses with me, there's almost always some element in the course, no matter what the course is about self-definition, about what's the vocabulary that you use to describe yourself. So the quickest way to that, and some of you have done that work with me, so you can revisit those words that were in your vocabulary list and hang on to them as you walk through a room. Hang on to them before you go into the meeting. Like, that's right, I am cheerful, affectionate, suspicious, and crabby. I'm all those things. I remember that, right? So you can root yourself in the truth of who you are. If you don't have that vocabulary, you can, maybe you've done some values work, you can root into your values, right? That's right, my values are connection, artistry, poetry, and I don't know, glorifying the divine. And if you remember that that's what you're there for, it doesn't matter if you're working in a toll booth, because that's what you're bringing, is your values, right? So that's what I would suggest, is to embody your values and remind yourself, like, write them down, make a little note to yourself before you go in. If you start to lose track, be like, excuse me for one moment, go to the restroom, write them out again, right? Don't let yourself get thrown off track. People need you, and they like you way more than you think they do. I know we're all still hanging on to that 7th grade not fitting in thing, and you don't fit in, but it makes you special. It makes you cool, for reals. Okay. June says, by edit, I mean completely rewrite. It's the blank page that I hate. Well, that's fine, June. I think you could ask people to fill up a page for you, and then you go ahead and rewrite it. There's nothing wrong with that process. Do it the way it works for you, babe. That's what I'm here to tell you. The thing that's getting in your way is not the thing that you think is getting in your way. The thing that's getting in your way is that you're not sure how to manage your highly creative brain. So start to notice these things, and remember, again, don't expect everybody to, get you, because only 10 to 15% of the population is really going to get you. I got confused because all my friends are highly creative people. I thought everybody was like this. I remember being at a cocktail party and saying something about it, how I wrote a musical. And my friend, who's a real friend of mine, was like, oh, you wrote a musical? Of course you did. Sam wrote a musical. Did you write a musical? Jessica, have you written a musical yet? I think everybody's writing musicals. Sam did. I think she was teasing me, but I was like, that's actually not that weird in my circle of friends. Like, most of the people I know have written musicals. Oh, here's the kitties. Here's one. Which one is this? This is Mahidabam. Oh no, it's Archie. Hi, Archie. Nice to see you, baby. Okay. Good. So we're past our 10:30 mark. Enjoy talking to animals, talking to plants. That's another thing. Gayness is really appreciating the zone of excellence, zone of genius concept. We'll be cogitating on that. Yeah, it's looking the work of Gay Hendricks, Gayhendricks. Gay Hendricks. He wrote. I'm completely blanking on the name of the book he wrote, but Veronica will remember it and put it up there. And he has a new one that I think is called like Your Zone of Genius or something. He's got the thing about your upper limit problems. What's it called? It's right over there. Where is it? It's gonna make me nuts. Who remembers the name of Gay Hendricks' book? The really famous one. I'm friends with his wife. Katie and I had lunch not too long ago. The Big Leap. Oh, thank you. The Big Leap. Right, of course. And then, but then look, because he's got a newer one that talks specifically about the zone of genius thing. Okay, good. Great. Thank you so much for hanging out. Great to see you all. There's an Amazon link to that book. If you have not read The Big Leap, do not pass go, do not collect $200. I got it on audio last time and it was lovely to hear him read it. So, all right, one more breath. You ready? Let's inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the Genius Zone. Yes, yes, that's the new one. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Great to see you. Ping me if you need me. You know where to find me. Bye.